Okay guys, we've got some 750 point sweet early war bolt action for you right now. So first of all, let's look over the forces of Belgium. First of all, we have the anti-tank gun, medium anti-tank gun, which of course they get for free because they're cool like that. We have some heavy artillery. I didn't misspeak, you did hear the word heavy in a Belgian army list. They have a spotter down there as well. I have this tank, if you want to call it that. It's more like a little tractor with a fixed light anti-tank gun on it, so we'll see how that does. We've got the infamous anti-tank rifle, which I'm reliably informed wasn't particularly in wide use during the war, but there you go. Over here we've got 9 regular infantry with a BAR and an NCO with an SMG. Then here we've got my platoon commander, who is a first lieutenant, with a little sidekick there. We've got a sniper, who also has a sidekick. We have some force publique inexperienced infantry. I believe there are about 12 of them. Then over here we've got 10 chasseurs with a BAR and an NCO, and they're going to be transported in this delightful truck here, which is expertly camouflaged. That's why it doesn't look too detailed at the moment. And over here they're going to be taking on the forces of the Germans, who aren't really dressed for the occasion, it has to be said. They're looking a bit deserty, shall we say. So, what have we got over here?
We've got a first lieutenant with a sidekick, regular, 2 regular squads, NCOs with SMGs and LMGs. We've got the sneaky unit, which is the veteran pioneers with a flamethrower hidden in there and plenty of SMGs, and I think they might be turning up in the truck at some point depending on the scenario. We've got a Panzer II with its almighty powerful 20mm cannon, although albeit probably be able to make a bit of a mess of that Belgian thing over there.
I think it's already a bit of a mess.
We shall see in the duel. And then I've got the ubiquitous MG34. No German army should be without one of them. Medium machine gun, a medium mortar, and then a spotter and some form of German aircraft. Not sure what's going to turn up yet.
Oh dear. So we'll get back to you when we've decided exactly what scenario we're going to be playing on this delightfully cinematic table that's going on here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's the situation we find ourselves in. A Belgian and a German convoy carrying essential war documents. The two convoys are kind of run into each other in the middle of this light woodland area, and unfortunately the shock of seeing each other caused them to crash into various pieces of terrain. So, here's the Belgian one here, and the German one over there. So of course they're going to try to destroy each other's essential documents, which could prove very pivotal to the war effort. So, starting off on the table for the Belgians, we've got the force publique here. These represent hidden, by the way. These big and red represents hidden, that's very interesting. Then behind them we've got the commander, we've got the medium anti-tank gun, and the sniper, in a nice defensive position around this truck carrying the essential documents. And then all the way over here we have the heavy artillery with a nice cinematic view over the battlefield. You should be able to see almost everything that's going on, apart from starting over here with the Germans recalled from the desert, being very sneaky. The Panzer II is all the way over here outside of the line of sight of the heavy artillery. Not too much else on the table for them, but when we get over here we see their machine gun and the mortar at the back there, lurking. Pretty much the only defensive unit they've got over there right now. And also, hiding in the trees over here, they've got the Air Force observer, who is also hidden down there. So, not too much on the table yet. And the units that are going to be flanking, so that they can come in from the side of the table later on, the chasseurs for the Belgians in the truck, and the German commander in his truck. All the other troops are just in reserve, so they're going to roll to come in from turn 2. So, here we go. Okay, it's the end of turn 1. Considering there wasn't too much on the table, it was relatively eventful, not in terms of casualties, But let's start at this end of the table, shall we? Doesn't really matter which order all this stuff comes in. So, the Air Force observer unleashed his airstrike, potentially, next turn on this anti-tank gun there. So that could be very, very painful indeed. Back down here again, the Panzer moved up down the side of these woods, looking menacingly at the artillery. The artillery which took a pot shot at the machine gun which used to be there, but missed. And if you're wondering why the machine gun has moved back there, it's because it was under threat. Because the sniper was looking at it a bit menacingly, and it decided the best thing to do was just run away and hide.
Which has also helped take off the acquisition of the howitzer as well.
Yes, so that means that the artillery, when it fires at it next turn, won't get the juicy bonus for if it had stayed still. So, kind of a double whammy there. The anti-tank gun, when that fired, it did actually kill one of the mortar crew, but then they subsequently fired and removed the pin marker. I believe they missed though, didn't they? The Force Publique have decided, you know what, it's not looking too populated over by that objective with all those important documents in it, so we're going to make a rush for it. And if they get unlucky and don't get any troops on, we might be able to get there in time. So, we'll see what happens with that. And I believe that's pretty much everything. This commander just moved forward a tiny little bit, but it's going to get more packed on the table, I suspect, in a minute. Well, this is the effect of the airstrike. Unfortunately, the anti-tank gun couldn't stand up to being blown up 16 times in one go. So that's quite unfortunate, and also the Force Publique took a pin just from the sound of the aircraft overhead. Nobody else seemed to mind though. The sniper that just saw this horrific explosion right next to them, they're not put off at all, they must have some high quality earplugs. Okay, part way into turn 2, and there have been some juicy activations already. The Force Publique have advanced towards this building. They've taken a pin and a casualty from the machine gun over there. So that's not very nice. The mortar, though, did take a hit from just this man on his own. He was the only one in range to shoot. He needed 7s to hit. He did hit, but he couldn't do any damage, unfortunately.
I think that's Frank, isn't it? Who did the shooting?
I think it is. And then sadly, they were able to remove that pin marker when they fired, so it's as if it didn't happen. But it would have been really funny if it had done damage. Over here, the Panzer II advanced a little bit, took a shot at the artillery, not quite from point blank range, and missed somehow from there, even though it's just nicely on a hill. Very huge target. So that opened himself up for this lovely little tractor to advance onto the battlefield after passing its test. Point blank range, into the side of a tank, from about 20 feet away, and it missed. Oh dear.
Needed a 3.
Yep, needed a 3 to hit, couldn't do it. How embarrassing.
I think they got excited, didn't they?
They did, they got a little bit overexcited. They had the scent of chocolate in the nostrils, and it just went to their head. So, we've got about half of this turn to go. Okay, the rest of turn 2. Now, it did get quite juicy. First of all, the non-juicy things. So the sniper moved a little bit over this way to try and get in range to shoot at the mortar next turn. And the Air Force observer, who's already done his damage, he decided to just walk over here and take a pot shot at the tractor, but missed. Now, the juicy stuff. Well, first of all, it should be pointed out that 2 of the German squads failed to come in. Obviously got caught up at some kind of beer festival just south of the battlefield. But his pioneers, the veteran unit, did manage to come in, and they got to around about here where this big crater is. That's because as soon as they walked onto the battlefield, the heavy artillery thought, you know what, let's have a piece of that. Fired a shell into the air, landed directly on them, and just obliterated all of them. Oh dear, oh dear. So, this area is looking extremely undefended at the moment, so then these regular Belgian troops decided to run onto the battlefield. We're going to try and claim that truck before anyone else can come in. So I've got 2 units gunning for it. We'll see what happens. It's getting tense. Okay, turn 3. This was a fairly quick one. Over here, the Panzer took out this little annoying little mosquito-like tractor that was lurking next to it. The Air Force observer came out and took a shot at the artillery and failed.
With his binoculars.
Yep, he was going to throw his binoculars at it. The reason it's on 5 there is because it shot at this infantry unit that just came onto the table, but missed this time. So that would have been funny if it had taken
the crater of the pioneers.
Yep, just walking among the bones and the rubble there. That squad also came on, so they've moved into a defensive position next to the important document carrying truck, which my infantry squad have kind of mimicked here, because I'm thinking the trucks are going to come on probably in the next turn. The force publique got pinned a little bit by various fire, so they ended up having to go down because they failed their order test despite the lieutenant being there. That's what the battlefield looks like. Not a whole lot going on in the middle. It's all going to be decided at this end, I think. And whether that artillery can land another devastating barrage. And then we're going to see if these last lots of troops can come in. So, turn 4. It's getting tasty. Okay, so turn 4. Let's start over here. The anti-tank rifle came onto the table and shot into the side of the panzer that was here, pinned it, but couldn't do any damage. And then the panzer decided, you know what, I'm going to drive over here and take a shot at the artillery. And what do you know, double one. So the artillery unscathed, which allowed it to shoot. And this unit over here, because they saw the pile of bones from their brethren, they decided they were going to go down just in case, but it missed, so they needn't have done that. And then over here, the observer got a little bit brave and decided to assault the anti-tank rifle, and as you can see, it's still alive. So after they had about 3 rounds of just missing each other non-stop, they finally punched him in the nuts, took him down, and then they consolidated over here, right into the back of the panzer. So that's going to be interesting if they can go first. And then, over here, a lot of units down, I suppose, with them, and the force publique failed their order again, so they went down. The lieutenant moved up a little bit to there. I believe the sniper failed to do anything this turn. Over here, there was some pretty much ineffective shooting going on, wasn't there, from just about everything, including the machine gun over there. And this unit of regular infantry surrounded the truck. Speaking of trucks, neither of these were able to come in. Yep, the Belgian one failed, and so did the Germans. So, turn 5 coming up. Okay, we're part way into turn 5, and it's been high drama. Now the Germans got a couple of dice first, so the tank was able to move away from the anti-tank rifle, fired back, but again missed. This tank, the gunner, he's just been abysmal, unfortunately, for the Germans. Then, the squad that the artillery was honed in on decided they should probably move before it unleashed, so they jumped over the wall, and they sat down there. The artillery thought, well, if they're going to move, we might as well shoot at the squad that's on ambush on the hill. And you may have noticed they've been replaced by a puff of smoke because, again, it got 6, landed right in the middle of them, pulverised all but one, put 5 pins on him, and then he failed his test, as you would imagine he would, so he ran away. The machine gun behind there has gone onto ambush, and this truck carrying the chasseurs passed its test and has come on to the battlefield and parked right there, ready to unload them in a minute. So if they can get to within touching distance of that document carrying truck and they don't get gunned down by the machine gun, that could lead to a Belgian victory. We'll have to see what the Germans can do with the rest of this turn though. It's very, very tense. Okay folks, it's the end of the game. The machine gun that was on ambush gunned down the truck with pinpoint Hitler's buzzsaw precision, completely knocked it out. The chasseurs inside took a couple of hits, took some casualties, but the ones that remained piled out to within touching distance of the important documents, at which point the Germans' only chance was to bring on their truck in the same place, shoot at the chasseurs and kill with every single hit, with every single shot even, and then make them fail a test to run away. However, the German truck failed its test to even come onto the table. So it obviously thought it was a lost cause and didn't want to even bother. So that means it's the first ever Belgian victory. And I think the man of the match has to be this guy. 2 hits on a 6.
I don't think that's definitely Belgian cheese. It's not a Belgian piece of chocolate, that.
You can't ask for more than that. Now the Belgians are being accused of cheese. That's the first time for everything, I think. So, what do you think of taking on the Belgians? That's 2 games now.
Yeah, they're great. I think they're really good.
You think they can dish out some serious punishment?
Next army I bring is going to be evil.
Well, you had flamethrowers and aircraft this time.
I can't think what else I can use to make it even more evil.
Other than maybe a couple of super heavies. I'm not sure what more you can do, really. So, it was an emotional roller coaster right to the end. Could have gone either way, but with the way the artillery was shooting, I think that's the only way it was going to go in the end. And this tank has to be the disaster of the game. I mean, it managed to kill my little tractor, but everything else it fired at point blank range most of the time against the artillery it missed, so I don't know what they were doing in there. Just the Belgian chocolatey fumes must have been getting into the eye holes and everything. So, yep, there you go. The Belgians triumph. We'll see what the Germans can do next time to try and strike some vengeance into the Belgian war machine, the unstoppable force of World War II, as we all remember. So, ta-ta for now, folks.